Hello scholars, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not sure what time you're watching this video, but I was able to speak with a lot of you all's families last week, and I am very proud of your progress. I am very sad at the fact that we will not be having school for the remainder of the school year, but that does not exempt you from your assignments. You are still required to complete your assignments. You are still required to be a scholar and grow your brain. And Ms. Brittany is here to help you as much as possible with math. As always, during this lesson, if you have any problems, please write it down and let your parent know. Okay, so let's get started with lesson 3 application. We are in 3rd grade. That's why that 3 is here. And we are on module 5, lesson 3. So it says Marcos has 1 liter jar of milk to share with his mother, father, and sister. Draw a picture to show how Marcos must share the milk so that everyone gets the same amount. What fraction of the milk does each person get? So one thing is important for you to realize that we are not expecting you to figure out how many ounces or how many cups of milk people get. We want to know how this liter jar of milk will be distributed equally. So if you could have the jar of milk and cut it into whatever however many sections you need to, or however many units you need to, what would that look like? So I believe that you know how to complete this. So I'm going to give you, go ahead and pause this video and take a few minutes, about 5 minutes, to complete this problem. Do not forget your strong sentence at the end. You may begin. Alright scholars, so I am going to show you how you correctly solve this problem. I'm first going to draw my jar of milk. Remember, it's very important for us to draw out our word problems. Okay, so here's my jar of milk. Now, I know that I have Marcos, his mother, father, and sister. How many people is that? It's very important for us to know exactly how many people, because it would be very easy to say, oh, it's just his mother, father, and sister. That's 3 people, but you cannot forget Marcos. He gets a part of the milk too because he is sharing it with his mother, father, and sister. So we have 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we need to, the question asks us, what fraction of the milk does each person get? If we have to divide this or partition this jar of milk for 4 people, what are those called? We want 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is each section called? That's right, that's 1/4. And so an appropriate sentence for this problem, remember we want to restate the question. So the fraction of milk each person gets is 1/4. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and start with our problem set. With today's lesson, our focus is being able to identify equal parts. It's very important that you understand that parts have to be equal to be considered a unit. Remember, a unit is a whole. Okay, so if I have, let's see, if I have this circle, this is the unit, this entire circle. 1 second, scholars, to make sure you can see. Okay, that's a little bit better. So this circle is a whole. When we talk about units and fractions, they are all equal, and we know equal is the same size. So did I split this circle equally? No, because this side is way bigger than this side. Okay. Same thing with any shape. If I split this square in half, is it equal? Yep, right down the middle. So those two sides are equal. If I have this triangle, did I partition those pieces equally? No, because the middle piece is larger than the two side pieces. So it's very important that you all understand that in order for this to be considered thirds, they all have to be equal. In order for these to be called considered halves, they have to be equal. So the same thing with fourths, fifths, sixths, they have to be equal in order to be considered a part of that unit. Okay, if not, there's just 3 parts or 2 parts. Those are not halves because they're not split in half. Okay, here we are. So let's look at number 1. It says each shape is a whole divided into equal parts. Alright, so each of these are wholes and they have partitioned them into equal parts. Name the fractional unit. Okay, so that's halves, wholes, thirds, fourths, fifths. That is the unit. And then count and tell how many of those units are shaded. The first one is done for you. So if you look at the first one, it's fourths because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And it says 2/4 are shaded on this bottom line. So let's go ahead and complete the next one together. So first we need to count how many parts there are. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I know that these are eighths. Okay. And how many of those eighths are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 eighths are shaded. Okay. I have a question. Do you all know how to write this fraction in numerical form? How would you do that? That's right. 5/8. That's 5/8. Let's go to the next one. How many units? How many units are there? 1, 2, 3. 3. So those are called what? Good. Thirds. And then I would enter what here? 3/3 are shaded. Go ahead and write that fraction in numerical form for me. You can do 3/3 or 1 whole because all of them are shaded. So this whole unit is shaded. So that's 1. Okay. Don't worry about that if you don't understand it yet. We'll just stick to 3/3 because 3 of these units are shaded and there are only 3 of them. Last one. What is this called? Are these called 2s? No, they're called halves. Okay. 1 half is shaded. And the way that you draw 1 half is 1/2. Any questions about that, scholars? Go ahead and write that down. Let's move on to part 2. It says circle the shapes that are divided into equal parts. Equal parts. Okay. Write a sentence telling what equal parts means. I want you to complete this independently first. So when I say go, I want you to pause the video and I want you to complete this on your own. Okay. I want you to do the entire problem. So you're circling those units that are divided into equal parts, and then you're going to write a sentence telling what equal parts means. You may begin. All right, scholars. So here are our shapes here, and we want to look for those that have equal parts. So first, this triangle is split right down the middle into halves, so we're going to circle that. Both of these sides are equal. They look exactly the same. Now let's look at this rectangle. The four parts are equal, but it's very important that you pay attention to the corners. The corners are not the same. So these parts cannot be equal because the corners are not the same. Okay. Here, this square divided equally into thirds. I am going to circle that one. Let's look at this. Although there are 3 lines, are the 4 parts equal? Compare this part to the size of this part. If this was a piece of cake, would you be okay with getting this piece? I would not be okay with getting that piece. I would want this piece here, so therefore the parts are not equal. Okay? And lastly, this circle, its partition is reminding me of a piece of pizza that I would love to have right now, and it is equal parts. If I got this piece, I would be okay. If I got this piece, I would be okay. If I got this piece, I would be okay, because all parts of this circle are equal. So I'm going to circle that one. Okay? So we all know what equal means. If we get a slice of pizza and they aren't partitioned equally, no one wants a little skinny small piece of pizza. So I'm very interested to know what you all feel that equal parts means. I am going to give a definition to you that you should remember, and if it's similar to your definition, that's absolutely okay. But please pay attention to the definition I'm about to give you right now. So my definition of equal parts is equal parts means that a whole, that means one solid. So this circle down here is a whole. Okay, this rectangle down here is a whole. This line here is a whole because it's not divided or partitioned into different parts. Equal parts means that a whole has been partitioned into pieces that are the same size. Equal parts means that a whole has been partitioned. Remember, partition means divided into pieces that are the same size. These are your keywords here. Same size. If it's the same size, then it's equal. Okay. Moving on to number 3. It says each shape is one whole. Estimate to divide each into 4 equal parts. Now I know this can be a little bit difficult because it's hard to because we're not machines. I don't always draw perfect lines, but it's very important that you draw them as perfect as possible, because if not, they are not equal, and the directions tell us to give 4 equal parts. Okay, so Ms. Breeding is going to switch from a pen to a pencil for this. In case I make a mistake, it's very important for you to do the same. All right. So the first one should be pretty easy, to divide this rectangle into 4 equal parts. So this is one method that Ms. Breeding uses. Sometimes it's easier than other times, but if you would like, you can try it as well. So when I'm having to divide something equally, I always start, if it's an even number, I always start in the middle of that object. So I'm looking at my rectangle. It looks like about here is halfway. And so I'm going to draw my first line there. Does that look equal? I believe I can move my line over a little bit to the right. What about now? I think that looks pretty equal in half. So I still need 4 equal parts. Remember, if I'm drawing 4 lines, if I'm looking for 4 parts, I'm going to draw 1 less line. So if I need 4 points, if I need 4 parts, I'm going to draw 3 lines. So I need to draw a line on this side, and I need to draw a line on this side. So I'm going to split this half in half. Okay. And then I'm going to split this half in half. Okay. So do my 4 parts look equal? Just about. I feel like this line can be moved a little bit because it's not equal. It's not perfect, but you can see that the 4 parts are about the same. Okay. Let's do the same here with this line. I'm first going to draw a line in the middle. There's not the middle. And sometimes you have to readjust. Like I had to readjust my middle line here. So I'm going to draw one. I'm going to split this half in half. And then I'm going to split this half in half. Now I have 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of hard for y'all to see my lines. Let me go over it with the pen. This is part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Next, we have a circle. Circles are always very tricky. So let's try to find the circle first. Find the center. Draw a line going down the middle. My line is a little crooked. I'm going to try that again. It's okay if you make a mistake. There's absolutely no rush here. No rush. So there's half, and then I'm going to draw my half this way. Okay, so that's pretty equal. I can make this side a little bit better. Okay, my 4 equal parts on my circle. Now I have a question with this circle because sometimes circles can be tricky. What if I want to draw these lines in pen so you can see them? What if I drew my lines like this? 1, 2, 3. And I said, well, here's 1 part, here's 1 part, here's 1 part, here's 1 part. Are those parts equal? Let's see if I can. There we go. Are these parts equal, the parts that I shaded? No, they're not, because they're different. The circle is round, and so these end lines have a little bit less space than those in the middle. So when you partition a circle, you always want to go in half, and then half, and then half, and then half. Okay, so you always want to continue to split those halves and halves when you're partitioning a circle. Okay. All right, next page. Alright, so number 1, it says each shape is one whole. Draw and shade to show the given fraction. Okay, so for number 1, and let me adjust my light because I know this kind of not showing for you. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay. So each shape is one whole. Divide and shade to show the given fraction. Let me see. Okay, so they want you to draw 1/2 here and then shade the 1/2 so that we know that we're making halves. So I'm going to split this right down the middle. And then, I'm not sure why you all can't see. Let's try it like that. I'm not sure where this extra light is coming from, you guys. Give me 1 second. Let's just try this for right now. I think it's a little bit easier to see. So, if I'm drawing 1/2, I'm going to draw right down the middle here. I'm going to draw right down the middle. And I'll redo it in pen so you can see it. It's very important that I don't draw it horizontally, meaning going across, because if I do, the sizes aren't going to be the same, because the top of this figure is more narrow than the bottom. So I want to split it at the top so they both have this narrow part and they both have the wide part at the bottom. So I'm going to draw my pen now to help you see this line. Okay, right down the middle. And then the second part of the direction says divide and shade to show the given fractions. So this is asking to show 1/2. In numerical form, 1/2 looks like this. And I'm going to shade one of the two parts of this figure. So that is 1/2. I want you to do these with me. Don't do them independently because we're still practicing partitioning equally. Okay, so next we have 1/6. Because 6 is an even number, I can use my method that I use on my square on problem 3. I can split in the middle and then split my halves in halves, and then my halves and halves again to make 6 equal parts. So first I want to do my halves, split it in half. And I'm using my pen now, so I have to be very careful. So that's my half. And then I want to split my halves in half. So I'm going to go here. That's about halfway. And then here. That's about halfway. And next, I want to split those halves in half. Okay? So I need 5 lines. So I have 3. So I'm going to draw a line here and draw a line here. Now, are my parts equal? No, they are not. So my splitting in half method did not work out for me. So I'm going to have to redo this problem. Hopefully you're still using your pencil, so you can just go ahead and erase, and I'm going to redraw this rectangle so we can partition it equally. Okay, sometimes that method doesn't always, or it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, so it's easy for something like fourths, but when you start getting into bigger numbers, it can be a little bit tricky. So let's try this again. So now we're just going to have to, let me outline this. We're going to have to use our best judgment to make sure the parts are equal. Sometimes we have to erase a lot, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with erasing. Absolutely nothing. Alright, so looking at what I did up here, I know that in order for my figure to be partitioned equally, the sizes should be about this size. The size of each section should be about this size. Can't see that. I'm sorry that you all can't see it. Okay, so I'm going to try to draw my parts about that size. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do those parts look about equal? I believe they do. Okay, So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. Okay, the 6 is a little bit bigger. Okay, but we're gonna cross this part out. Okay, so those are my 6 parts, and I'm going to shade 1/6. Okay. All right, moving on to 1/3. So this is the most trickiest for Miss Breeden, because making an uneven number in a circle can be a little bit difficult and intimidating. So when you're having to draw a third in a circle, I want you to think of a Y. Okay, so I'm going to outline it in pencil first, then I'll redo it in pen once it's correct. It's not quite good enough. So my first step I see now needs to be that I find the center. And then I'm going to draw 2 lines out to the side, and then 1 line down the middle. Okay. So now I'm going to go over this in pen so you can see it. I think it looks about equal. Okay, do you all see what I did here? You see my Y? It's really tricky and it takes a lot of practice. Mine still isn't perfect. Okay, but that's thirds. Okay, this is about the size of this and this section. Okay, and so now I need to shade. Sorry, we didn't draw numerical fraction here. 1/6 will look like 1/6, and 1/3 would be 1/3. And I'm going to shade 1/3 of my circle. Okay. All right. Moving on along, scholars. Number 5, it says each shape is one whole. Estimate to divide estimate to divide each into equal parts. Do not draw fourths. So we cannot draw fourths here. Divide each whole using a different fractional unit. Write the name of each of the fractional unit on the line below the shape. So here. So first we're going to partition these into equal units. We cannot do fourths. And then we are going to write the name of the unit here at the bottom. So just like we did here, 1/2, 1/4, 1/6, 1/3, 1/5. Okay. Those are our units. So we're going to use any unit, but we cannot use fourths. So I think that for my rectangle, I am going to do thirds. And you can do whatever unit you want. So if you want to try a difficult one, you can. Okay, if you want to stick to an easier one, you can do that as well. The important thing here is that you're practicing making your parts equal. So for my thirds, I want to be very careful and use my judgment to make sure that my 3 parts are equal. Okay. Next, for my line here, I'm going to write thirds at the bottom. For my next line, I think I am going to do, what should I do here? Let's do eighths. If I do eighths, how many lines do I need? That's right, I need 7 because I need 1 less than the amount of parts that I need. So Ms. Brittany is going to try to use her best judgment to, I'm going to use my pencil first because it's a line and it can be a bit tricky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, they got a little bit smaller towards the end, so the parts are not equal. Now I know I need to make my parts a little smaller. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are not quite equal, and it's okay that you have to erase. That is perfectly fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we are, 7. Those are pretty equal parts. So I'm going to draw with my pen so you can see it. I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts, and my 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, my 7 lines. 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. So these are called eighths. Okay. Next, for my circle, I'm pretty sure a lot of you all are going to try to do my thirds again, and I suggest that you do that. Okay, so let's practice this third. I'm going to use my pencil again because this one is a little bit tricky. And remember, when something is hard, we want to continue to practice it until we can master it. So here, draw my line here. Remember, I gotta find the center first. I drew a dot in my center, and then I drew 2 lines going out, and then I have 1 line going down. Okay, you practice that as much as you need to. I'm going to outline it in my pen. Okay, now I'm going to write the units here at the bottom. Oh, I did thirds again. Cannot do thirds because I did thirds for my rectangle. Sorry about that, scholars. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to split each of these thirds in half. One, we have this one, we have this one. So before you even count, if you have thirds and you split your thirds in halves, how many do you have now? Without counting, see if you can figure that out. If you had thirds and you split each of your thirds in half, how many parts do you have now? Your answer should be 6. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so these are sixths. Okay. Any questions about that? It's okay if it's not perfect. Just try to make it as accurate as possible. Don't stress out about it. All right, last part before your exit ticket. Charlotte wants to equally share her candy bar with 4 friends. Draw Charlotte's candy bar. So we're going to stop and do that now. Draw a nice even rectangle. Show how she can divide her candy bar so everyone gets an equal share. So how many people are there first? We have to know how many people there are. We have Charlotte and her 4 friends. How many people is that? That's 5. Okay. So next it says show how she can divide her candy bar so everyone gets an equal share. So we're going to have to split this into fifths. Remember, it's okay if it's not perfect, just erase and try it again. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and work independently. Go. All right, scholars, so now I'm going to partition my rectangle into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe my parts look pretty much equal. Okay, hopefully yours look like mine. If not, pause this video, go back and try it again. It's very important that you practice the way that you would like to perform. If this was a test, I would expect your lines to look like this. So if they don't look like this, go ahead and redo it. And the last part says, what fraction of the candy bar does each person receive? So this can be for Charlotte, friend number 1, friend number 2, friend number 3, friend number 4. What fraction That's friend number 4 get. That's right. This is 1/5. Okay, and here on this bottom line, it says each person receives 1/5. Okay. All right, scholars, that is our work for math class today. I hope that you all understand. If not, I need you to go back and rewatch this video. Okay, don't stop until you understand. And then your exit ticket, remember your exit ticket should be done independently. I am not there to watch you, but I am trusting that you are doing your exit ticket the same way we do in class, absolutely silent, no help from anyone else. So your exit ticket, first you're identifying how many parts are shaded. Here you're looking for shapes that are divided into equal parts. And for number 3, you have a word problem, very similar to what we did with Charlotte and her 4 friends with the candy bar. You got to find out how many people there are first, so you know how many parts to divide into. Okay, so we have reached the end of topic A for this section. So the next thing that you have after this is an assessment. So before you go, we're going to go to lesson number 5 next. We're not doing lesson 4. So after this lesson, you have an assessment you need to take. The assessment will be over understanding what partitioning and dividing equally means, knowing the there are 6 parts, those are called 6. Being able to partition a whole into parts, and solving different word problems that involve fractions. So I want you all to take your time. You all did very well. We got 78.7% mastery on our last assessment. Give yourselves a round of applause, a pat on the back, and I will see you all next lesson. Good luck on your exit ticket.